So Tabby has chronic renal failure. Now, in order for us to appreciate what chronic renal failure is, it's important that we understand, what the functional role of the kidney is. So the kidneys control the levels of sodium, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, the proteins, glucose, and water, and many other things, and they control those levels throughout the body. It's also vital in controlling the blood acidity or pH, the blood pressure, as well as the fluid volume. And it even creates the hormone erythropoietin, which stimulates the bone marrow to create red blood cells, which give us the oxygen that we need. Now, in order for the kidney to do these vital functions for the body, it needs what are called nephrons. And there are hundreds and thousands of these nephrons in the kidney, and the components of the kidneys or of the nephron consists of uh, blood vessels, which go through a glomerulus, which is basically a filter that the blood goes through. Then the tubules, which reabsorb water in those components that we talked about earlier, and an interstitium, where they're collected and then distributed throughout the body. Now, when there's a problem, but not a loss of function in those nephrons, we call that disease. But when there is a loss of function, we call that failure. And because there's so many of these nephrons throughout the body, we know that we've reached renal failure when 75% of those nephrons have lost their function. Now you may ask, why chronic renal failure? Why is it chronic? Because of the clinical signs that are manifest. In acute renal failure, you won't see any clinical signs. And even you could reverse the effects of, get those nephrons back to their original function. But we know that it's chronic renal failure because of the signs that are shown. The fat belly that your cat has, we have a radiograph that shows very shrunken kidneys, and also the extreme thirst. The extreme thirst comes from the failure to concentrate those sodium levels. And because of the surviving nephrons can only process so many solutes, it pulls water with it, and as such, it makes the animal feel thirstier than usual. The failure of the kidneys to control blood pressure leads to the fat belly that it has, because the fluid is bypassing, going through the vessels and collecting in the body cavities. And the shrunken kidneys, of course, with only surviving nephrons left in it. So a few treatment options that we can do. We can give it a specialized diet so that those phosphorus levels don't become dangerous to the bones. We can give it some diuretics so we can get that buildup of fluid out of the abdomen. And we can also give it some antihypertensives to prevent that from happening again. So I hope that's helpful. Let's do it.